In a small village in the southern United States, the nights gradually lost their usual quietness. Wild boars began appearing more and more frequently. They tore up the fields, bent wooden fences, and left fresh tracks right beside the areas where people lived. But this time, the villagers did not respond in the usual way. Instead of relying on scattered and short-term measures, they chose a different path together. The entire community agreed to build a shared control system for the whole village. This system was designed to guide the movement of wild boars and reduce long-term conflict between humans and wildlife. At that point, the question was no longer, how many wild boars can we catch? But rather how the entire village could sleep peacefully again at night. The most important change was not in equipment or tools, but in the way people thought. The goal of the system was not to catch as many boars as possible, but to break the familiar routes that led them toward the residential area. The strategy shifted from reacting after damage occurred to preventing it from happening in the first place. Instead of placing traps in areas that had already suffered heavy damage, control structures were positioned in transition zones between the forest and farmland. These were the points where wild boars often paused during their movement. When moving from the forest toward the fields, the herd usually slowed down, observing and evaluating the environment before moving deeper. These stopping points acted as key nodes in the route of the entire herd. Even a small change at these points could influence the direction of the whole group. For that reason, each structure was not seen as a single trap, but as part of a broader control network surrounding the village. Effective control always begins with thinking, not tools. After the system was installed, the villagers began using bait to attract the wild boars. During the first stage, no traps were activated. All structures remained unchanged for many consecutive nights, allowing the boars to approach, observe, and gradually become familiar with their presence in the environment. The cameras installed were not simply meant to count animals. Their main purpose was to record how the herd moved, when they stopped, and how the group reacted to small changes in the environment. This information helped managers understand wild boar behavior more clearly. As a result, decisions could be made based on real observations rather than guesses or instinct. By not rushing to intervene, the system worked with the natural behavior of the animals instead of forcing outcomes. When animals do not feel threatened, their true behavior becomes clearer. There were no sudden barriers closing in and no aggressive attempts to drive them away. Instead, subtle environmental changes gradually reduced the frequency of wild boars moving deeper toward the village. Over time, they returned to areas that were more familiar in the natural landscape, rather than continuing toward the residential zone. For the wild boars, these were simply different choices within their habitat. But for humans, it was a way to guide animal behavior without increasing stress or unnecessary risk. The entire system functioned as a unified network driven by data, time, and cooperation among many people in the community. A system only becomes effective when all its parts operate in the same rhythm. By the following morning, the village slowly returned to its familiar rhythm. There were no new tracks on the ground and no new damage in the fields or near homes. Life for the villagers began to stabilize again. In wildlife management, long-term solutions rarely come from direct confrontation. They usually begin with understanding animal behavior, using data, and applying responsible strategies that guide movement. Because peace does not come from how many animals are caught in a single night, but from creating an environment where humans and nature can coexist without conflict.
Okay.
If you found this story interesting, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to explore more real stories about life and nature.